Hey guys, this is Willie Sandry. Today we're looking at dado blades. I want to review a couple of the common sets that are available on the market and then do a mini review of one particular set, the Dewalt DW7670 dado blade. You get 24 teeth on the outer blades, 4 teeth on the inner chippers, so hang around, we'll take a look at that in detail. Okay, so the common dado blades that you'll find on the market right now, these are the ones I see a lot of. These are the 2-wing chippers, and they usually come with outer blades that aren't quite as fine. Maybe 12 teeth is a common setup with these 2-wing chippers, and depending on the tooth geometry they can be okay. One limiting factor I do find though is that the 2-wing chippers tend to give you a little bit of chip out with hardwood joinery, so that's something to consider if you're shopping for a new blade. Some of the finer sets on the market, like this is an Infinity Detonator 8-inch set. You get 24 teeth on the outer, and it just gives you a finer cut, I think. Somewhat rare, I guess, for the Infinity Detonator is the fact that you get 6 chippers, 6 teeth on your chippers, which most sets are less than that. Here's a common setup. This is actually a Ridge Carbide Dado Master. It's also 24 teeth on the outer blades, and you get 4 chippers with this style. This is kind of the minimum that I'm usually after. I go for 4 tooth chippers minimum. 6 is fine, although the larger solid plate style chippers apparently aren't approved for saw stop use just because of the weight. Also, tooth design, going back to this Infinity, if you have this anti-kickback tooth on your blades, that is not approved for saw stop use. So you kind of take your own risk in terms of the warranty on your saw and your own safety if you're trying to use a saw with a flush detecting brake on it. So these four-wing chippers are, I think, just enough. They're a good compromise between being lightweight, but they're lighter weight than the 6-wing chipper, and they give a little finer cut than the 2-wing chipper. So sometimes that's a good compromise. With this Dewalt set in particular, I really like the case. That's one downfall, I think, for most dado sets on the market, is either they don't come with a case or they just come with a temporary cardboard box for storage. And a lot of comments I've seen online, and I kind of feel the same way, it's kind of a letdown when you spend good money on a dado set and it doesn't even come with a case. Interestingly, my favorite case has just been these little guys from Freud. I found that my Ridge Carbide set fit just fine in that, and it actually takes up very little space in the cabinet, and it's easy to use. You got one side for the chippers and one side for the blade. Just a super standard case, but I wish they all came with something at least like this. One of the reasons I got the Dewalt set was the case. I thought it was above and beyond any of the other cases. In use, I would say it's about a 4-star case. It's pretty good. It stores everything you need, but they could make it a lot smaller if you just stacked your shims. You could consolidate things quite a bit. Sometimes it's hard to just put the case away in a small, cabinet under your table saw or something. But the blades themselves are quite good. You get 24 teeth on the outer blades. Carbide's really sharp. I didn't have any trouble with the outer blades. And actually the score lines that this leaves in the cut are really minimal, probably 1/1000th to 2/1000th of an inch, so really acceptable score lines on that. You're not going to see big bat ears. You're not going to see deep score lines that take forever to sand out if you happen to have a through tenon or something. So I was really happy with the outer blades on that. The chippers, I like the 4-wing style chippers, and these are lightweight and they are approved for saw stop use with the Dewalt set. One thing, probably my most annoying grievance about this set, is just the machining is fairly inconsistent on the chippers. I've had more than one of these Dewalt sets, and I just found that between the chippers they're not always the same. And you may not even notice it if you're just plowing a simple groove in plywood. You can glance at it, it looks pretty good. There's not a lot of exit chip out, it's a decent cut. But if you're going to be a little more discerning in the woodworking you're doing, and you're doing hardwood joinery particularly, for me it wasn't quite good enough because I could see those ridges, especially with cross grain cuts. And so you find this when you're cutting tenons or hardwood joinery. And if one chipper is a little different size compared to the next chipper, you will see defined ridges in that. And so I found myself with my first set, there was one of the 1/8 inch chippers I couldn't use, and so I was stuck using a 3/32 chipper or a 16 inch chipper to get a flat bottom. And with this second set, that problem has solved. It's a better set. I'm getting a flat bottom groove now. Tenon cheeks are cleaner now. So I am happy with this set. I'd probably give it a 4 stars at this point, just comparing it to some of the other high-end sets. This set used to be about half the money it is now. So at that point it would have been, you know, kind of a best value type blade. At this point it's a good 4-star blade. It'll do a lot for you. It's just hit or miss. If you get one that's got really good chippers that were well machined, I think you'll like it. If you get one like my first set where those ridges are present, it depends on what type of woodworking you're doing. But overall, I'd give it a 4-star review, and I can recommend it. Okay, so with the Dewalt set, you get 4 of the 1/8 inch chippers, and they are clearly labeled. I'm oftentimes surprised how many sets come with chippers that you just have to feel and identify which ones you're working with. It's really nice just to have that clearly labeled on the side of each chipper. In addition to the 4 1/8 inch chippers, you get oddball size 3/32 chipper for your plywood grooves and dados. Super handy, and oftentimes you can avoid using shims because of that 3/32 chipper. So whatever dado set you get, if you plan to do any work with plywood, which most of us will at some point, really make sure it has that 3/32 inch chipper. Another one DeWalt has thrown in, which I don't use as often, is the 1/16 inch set. But this can be useful with some plywoods that are undersized. If the 3/32 doesn't happen to fit, why then you can install your 16th inch chipper and then add various shims as needed until you get a nice snug fit. Okay, we've got the dado set installed on the saw. We'll take a look how it cuts. Cross-cutting, some shop grade, actually it's not shop grade, it's cabinet grade plywood. So plywood is probably not the most difficult judge of a dado blade. I would say hardwood is, but if you're going across the grain, the challenge with a veneered product is how much do you lift and split the veneer as you cross cut it. So for a dado and plywood like this, I mean, that's about as good as you get. As far as the veneer edge, I don't see any chipping on that. On the back side, it's got a clean exit, 0 chip out. Now, I did have my cut backed up with a sacrificial fence on my miter gauge, and that's certainly critical to getting a good cut on the exit side. There are just the faintest lines. You can feel them with your finger. You can barely see them though. So I would say that would be acceptable for a plywood dado in a case construction, something of that nature, and very good cut quality on the veneer. Okay, now we've got a little bit of cabinet grade plywood, and we're just gonna cut a rabbet. So this type of cut isn't much of a test for a dado blade. You've only got one outer blade buried in the cut of this rabbet because it's less than the full width of 3/4 that I'm using on my stack. And so all you can look at is the flatness of the cut. and whether you get any exit tear out. And I think most Dados do a good job of a simple rabbet cut like this, and the Dewalt is no different in that regard. So the true test comes with how does it cut hardwood joinery. Okay, and then we've got a piece of ash hardwood here. We'll just cut a tenon with the Dewalt Dado blade. So if we just take a look at the cut quality here real quickly in this ash board. Ash is real prone to splintering, in my experience, maybe even a little more than white oak. So I'm using this as a test. If it can cut a nice tenon in ash, then I feel satisfied it will make a nice tenon in just about any hardwood. As far as the flatness of the cheek here, it looks really good. Since we had to make more than one pass, you will have this invariable scoring from the outer teeth, and in my estimation that is between 1 and 2/1000ths of an inch on the Dewalt 7670 Dado set, which is as good as it gets. If you know, short of using a finger joint set with dead flat teeth, anything that has an angled tooth is going to leave a scoring line without question. It's just how deep is that scoring line? Is it a hassle to sand out, or is it pretty much a non-issue? And with the Dado set from Dewalt, I would judge that this is a non-issue. Even if it's a special joint like a through tenon, these lines could easily be sanded out if it was something that shows. Alright guys, thanks for watching about Dado blades today. Why don't you check out the Dewalt 7670 Dado set and see if it might be a contender for your shop. See ya.